Right, this is part 7 of the PrestaShop creating a module from scratch tutorial, and this is just an extension upon part 7 but not part 8, and this is to deal with a bug with the module that's being created in terms of in the older versions of PrestaShop when this tutorial was originally created. It would work in that if you reference back to part 7 you'll notice you've got the ID of a link, the URL of a link, and whether the link should open a new window or not when clicked. And I've noticed in later versions of PrestaShop I haven't identified which version this piece of code gets introduced to cause it to break, because this is a database change that's causing it to break, but it's our code that's manipulating the database that brings up the error. And in later versions of PrestaShop 1.4, I'm using a very early versions here. In later versions and PrestaShop 1.5, you'll see that in the second grey box I get nothing, whereas in this second yellow box, obviously nothing wrong with the colour differences, I actually get data. And these are two different PrestaShop installs. In my old tutorials I used a directory called PrestaShop Future. Now I stick them all in a directory where I have a specific version or the latest version, which in this case I've got a folder called latest to deal with the latest PrestaShop. So to deal with this problem, this only affects parts 7, 8 and 9 of this series, so I'm going to be creating an extension tutorial for all 3 parts to address PrestaShop 1.4 plus, so any version greater than 1.4, a small code fix to the code produced from tutorials to make things work again. And this won't be a regular thing. In part 10 I'll actually be covering a way to get around this so you don't have to recode in future, in terms of being able to process different code depending on the PrestaShop version. So I found the solution to this part, and if I just show you the database quickly, this is the database for PrestaShop Future, which is my original working PrestaShop version with this module. You can see we have blocklink and blocklink-lang, which is the 2 tables we're dealing with in the part 7 tutorial. And the main problem is this first field ID_link at some point has been changed in the PrestaShop core code, since most of this tutorial has been based on sort of introducing the code from this module and then recreating it as our own. So if I show you the database from the newest versions of PrestaShop, you can see not only do we have a new table here called blocklink_shop, which I'll explain in a later tutorial. If I click on this blocklink table, you can see that the difference is the ID_link has been changed to ID_blocklink. So you can clearly see that there's a difference there, and this small little difference is causing the data not to be displayed correctly because of a MySQL select query that's expecting the first column to be called something else. So the quick solution for this, and I've double checked, is doing a search and replace all in the main PHP file of the module we were creating, so pdf customizer.php, and we're looking for ID link and we're going to replace it with ID_blocklink. So in any decent text editor we should have the option for search and replace, which is normally Ctrl+F or Command F if you're on a Mac. And this brings up this little window where we have a phrase we're searching for and a phrase we'd like to replace with. And you should also have a button which says replace all, which if I click, you should get 9 replaced. So this code now, anywhere it was stating ID link before, it should be looking for ID blocklink. So therefore the code should work now, since the SQL within the code isn't wrong. So you can see I have my old old module from the previous tutorials here, producing data properly, and this one isn't, and it should be producing one record. But if we reload now, you can see we now get one link with the data tied to it. So that's the module fix for this part 7 for PrestaShop 1.4 and upwards. It will only have to be the code from this specific tutorial to work on PrestaShop 1.4 or greater. The earlier versions of 1.4, as I mentioned, may work with this, but it's mainly PrestaShop releases from 2011 to 2012 that will be affected by this. And I will be doing the Part 8 and Part 9 tutorials for fixing other code as well, and then we'll be getting on to Part 10 with being able to deal with this version differences in a much better way.